I'm back. Oh my God. It's another amp. It's one of them Jackson Ampworks. You've heard of them? Well, maybe not. This was a sort of, off the shelf but custom amp. It's a tube amp. And it's either 50 or 100 watts, but rumour has it that it can reach about 120. So if you want to get that raw tube power, you're going to be cranking it. But I can tell you that it does play quite nicely at lower volumes as well. Even though it's supposed to simulate a Marshall bass amp and a JMP or a Plexi. But it's got a few modes. So it's got total JTM 66 type of era. Then it's got the Plexi. And then it's got this middle one that they call JXN for Jackson. We'll come back to that later. As always, there's a reason why I bought the amp. And I can tell you what that is. Actually, I was walking around in America, around all the guitar stores. I went round Dallas and I went around Florida and different places. There's a few places I went. And I saw one of these in a guitar centre. And I looked at it. They got this one and they got one by another company which was copying, them train wreck amps. But they wanted like $2,500 for that. And I thought, nah. And they also had a Mesa Boogie, one of them little tiny tin covered type of amps, the sort of 30 watt things or whatever they are. I considered that, but I thought that was a bit dear. And then I looked at this, and it may not have been this model, but it looked like this model to me. And they wanted like $2,300 for it, and I thought, wow, that's a lot of money. No, I'm not going to buy it. I did have a quick go, but I'm not going to buy it. It's too expensive for what I want to do reviews and things like that. I mean, I do like Plexis, so don't get me wrong. Plexis can sound awesome. And so can a JTM in the right circumstance. And so can the Jackson mode, because I've tried it. But Jackson, well, what did I know about Jackson? Absolutely nothing. So I went out and I did some research. Now my research isn't, going to the nth degree, but basically it went something like 2009 or 2010, these guys got together and Jackson Ampworks went woof that way. So it became a very popular amp, albeit at a very expensive price. None of them seemed to be cheap to me. I mean, they started at sort of, $1,300, $1,400 and went up to like $2,500, $3,000. So it's not, it's not tea money, is it? Or coffee money in America. So it's a lot of money. And the one I saw second hand, I'm thinking, $2,200, $2,300 second hand. Oh my God, this must be a great amp. And is it? I didn't know. So I did some more research. And it turns out that when I start looking at in the forums, some guys are saying, oh, that company's terrible, no support, no this, no that, no the other. Now, I don't like companies particularly that don't offer support. I mean, it's a tube amp. You're going to get trouble. Even if it's only the tubes, you're going to have trouble from one thing or another. It's usually tubes, but it could be anything, couldn't it? So I do a bit more work and I think to myself, well, no, it's too expensive. And then I happened to be surfing the internet and I went to a site in the UK that I often go to, which was Peach Guitars, I think they're called. Anyway, doesn't really matter who they are. And there was one of these, brand new, in its box, for £1,395, including 20% tax. So if you took the tax off, it's about £1,100, that is. So that's about $1,500. So number one, it's brand new. Number two, it's cheaper, even without the tax. And number three, it's already in England, and that sounds good. Yeah, it sounds very good, so I bought one. It was on clearance, and they'd been listed. This particular one, I don't know how you pronounce this, it's called something like a Guapi. El Guapi. Somebody will correct me. Don't worry if I've got it wrong, it's not a problem. I'm in England. They don't have them things in England, wherever it is. Yeah. It's got a picture of a guy on the PCB. It's weird. But in any case, I bought it. And here it is for review. And that's the sole reason I bought it, just to review. So it cost me to make this video, all my time, all my effort, plus 1,400 quid, £1,395. It's a lot of money. So you better like it or I'll be coming over. In any case, these guys that made this company went off to do pedals. And from what I can see on their website, every amp that's on there says out of stock. Now I don't know whether that's a ploy, so you've got to call them. But some of the guys on the forum were saying, oh yeah, you can send them emails, they never come back to you. That might be all rubbish. They might be doing really well. I don't know. And you know, I don't care either really. But one thing I did notice, that on the Jackson Ampworks website, it said that Peach Guitars was the distributor. Well, Peach Guitars has got none except what they're clearing, and they're not on the lists, so to speak. So when I searched for Jackson, I didn't find any. It's a bit weird. So something's gone on, or is going on. Doesn't really matter. It looks a pretty well made amp, but we'll see in a minute when we get inside it. It weighs a ton. What the idea was, that one of these guys who works at Jackson at the top, had this amp all them years ago as a bass amp. I think it was a Marshall bass amp. It could have been a bass man, but I think it was a Marshall bass amp. And so they decided to take a Plexi, plus this bass tone he had in his head since all the way back, and plus this third mode called Jackson mode, and put them into one amp. But they wanted to make that amp the same size as everything else they made, which is this size. And they had different colours on them and all sorts of things. Well, you're paying for all of it, trust me, not a cheap amp. So that was the plan, and that's what they did. So you've got a 50 watt, 100 watt, which turns out to be near a 60 to 110 or 120. They said something ridiculous. But like I said, they've got master volumes on here. It can all sound nice anyway, or it did to me. And I was using a 100 watt carb with 425 watters in, so I wouldn't want to turn it up full, else I'd be looking for a new carb. That's something to bear in mind if you're going to run one of these. I know that Peach Guitars has still got some at that money, so, well, they're still on the website, let's put it that way. They've got a few second-hand ones too. I almost opted for one of them. So what I'm going to do, for now, I'm not going to carry on harping on. We're going to have a look at it. I'm going to whip the back off and get the chassis out so we can have a look, as we always do on an inside and out review. By the way, something I did notice about this amp, because I took the back cover off before, I'm not quite James Bond, which is 007, but this amp's actually 0007. I'm one up. I'm James Bond. Yeah, you'll see it in a minute. Awesome. It's great to have an amp with a number as low as that. Brand new. Yeah. Maybe it was initial stock to Peach Guitars and they never sold any. I don't know the answer. But let's go and look closer, because I can tell you it does sound good, and yeah, you should be buying them really. But we'll have a look inside first, eh? Well, here it is, out of its packet, so to speak. And I can tell you now, that is one tight fit. That's a real tight fit into this box. Yeah, difficult to get in, difficult to get out, difficult all round. And that El Guapo, not Guapi, Guapo, is something that is mentioned on the chassis inside, and we'll get to see, well, on the PCB actually, we'll get to see that in a little while. So I'm just going to zoom across now so we can have a quick look at what's actually on this thing, and yeah, it should be nice and interesting, this one. It's something different, and I can tell you it does sound good. So yeah, you should consider buying one of these. But I'm going to zoom in. Nobody does this, do they? Yeah, I'm going to zoom in so we can get an eyeful. Hold on. Well, there it is in all its glory. We've got a little fan at the front here, and we've got another one in the middle. So this one's cooling these two, and this one's cooling these two. By the way, these are EL34s, and they're winged C, I might add. So, bit of authenticity to them. You can see somebody's been writing on these on the top, probably matching them all up and things like that. On the preamp tubes, who knows what we've got? Let's pull one out and take a look. What's this one got to say? Well, this one says it's a Tungsol 12AX7. Let's put it back. Not a bad little tube. Let's have just another look at another one. They're probably all the same. No, they're not. Look at that one. Yeah, the second one's a Tungsol. The third one, yeah, is a Tungsol. And the fourth one in here, yeah, it's a Tungsol. Just have different designs of logos, so some are probably newer than others. What else can I show you? Well, we've got the power transformer, which is really big and chunky. And we've got this output transformer, which you can tell right off is sort of custom made, you know. You can see it. It's all good. Yeah, very nice. But I don't see any choke on the outside or anything like that. It all looks well enough made. This is clearly a sort of one-off transformer. God help us if that blows. But I guess you could get another one wound. So let's flip her over and have a look at the other side to see what, you know, the thing's really made of. Hold on. Well, there it is. In all its glory. Yeah. So there he is. It's a sweater. He's probably El Guapo. There's actually a little note up here. You can see that across the PCB along here. I'm gonna read it to you. It says, in a way, all of us have an El Guapo to face. For some, shyness might be their El Guapo. For others, it says here, a lack of education might be their El Guapo. For us, that's the maker of the amp, El Guapo is a big, dangerous man who wants to kill us. What a lucky day, it says. Yeah, and I'm sure it does want to kill them if they press the wrong things or do the wrong stuff and touch the wrong volts, because I bet you there's a lot of volts inside this one. Just somehow I can just see these 360 or 480 volts and yeah, things warm up. But you can see it's a regular sort of PCB, probably machined. Yeah, it looks like it's been made on a machine to me. This soldering down here, if you get to look at any of this. Well, let's zoom in. Hold on. As you can see down here, it's all nice enough soldering. And usually when you see soldering like that on a PCB, that means that it's been thrown through a machine. Or it does in my experience, at least. I don't know many people that can solder like that, except Pierre Angelo. And from another review, and I can tell you now, he won't be making one of these for this money. Not anytime soon, at least. So you can see the quality of the soldering in general. Let's have a look around. You've got your power tubes up in this section. You can see them here, soldered in very nicely. And PCB, unlike that other amp I showed you, you know, they've got the traces across, or the sort of wires across in one go. This is sort of all PCB driven. Yeah, it is what you can expect. We've got a front panel that way that lights up at the front of the amp, which you'll get to see later. But everything else in here, I mean, it looks pretty much, well, machine made. Decent chassis, by the way. That's quite nice, aluminium. Well, it looks aluminium. And one of the things I like about this this amp is that you can flip it into 120 or 240 volts, which is quite nice. So it doesn't really matter where you buy it. It could be just flipped at the flick of a switch and you're running, which means you could play anywhere with it. Well, that's the man himself. There he is. And no doubt he set out to kill the makers of the amp. No doubt he did. It's not the best of things to go making these amps, is it? Especially with some of the voltages and things like that. But there you go. Quite interesting. My God, a 25 watt 1K resistor. Oh my God, that is big. Yeah, I haven't seen one of them in a while, really. Can't show you much else about this amp. There's not really that much to look at. There's probably a lot the other side of the board, but I'm not going to turn it over. I'm not going to get it all apart just to do that. I just wanted to show you the build quality, really. If you look at the PCB and you look at the tracks and things like that, it's all nice enough done. Yeah, soldering's not bad. What do you expect? But it's far from a custom amp, in my opinion. It's an amp they've designed and made, and it's PCB, built. And I could guess they probably made many of them, but maybe not. Who knows? This is number 7. There it was in stock, brand new. Maybe that's why they stopped. Maybe they just didn't sell enough. I don't know. I don't know the history. But whatever that history may be, this is number 7. Never been out. And yeah, it's PCB made, so it was made for mass production, in my opinion. Which is to do with the power supply area. You don't see much on the board, do you? Yeah. Anyway, that's enough for inside. We've had a quick look at what it comprises of and that sort of stuff, and the quality's good enough. There's no problem with that. I like the chassis too, like I said. So let's come back out. So, not a bad little amp, and when you get to hear it, it's actually quite a good little amp, if a bit heavy. These things are just incredibly heavy. But don't hold that against it. Go and get your hand on a Plexi and see how heavy that is. That's a bit of a beast too. Yeah, I'm reasonably impressed with this amp actually. I don't see any major fixes or bodges or anything like that. It all looks pretty good. Yeah, a couple of interesting little bits and pieces, but I won't bore you with them. So I'm going to put this back into its case, and then we're going to go around the front and back and have a listen. Well, look, rather than a listen, we'll listen afterwards. See where we go with that. So, yeah, hold on, let me go and flip her back into the case, which is no mean feat, I can tell you. And I'll be back in a moment. Yeah. So there it is, my little friend, the Jackson Ampworks El Guapo. Whatever that means. It's obviously something nasty. It's the thing that frightens you, I guess. Yeah. That's what I think it is. I could be wrong. I don't know a word about Mexican except Fender. Oh, sorry. Just joking. But in any case, the great news is that this one is actually made in the USA. I think it's up California way somewhere. I could be wrong, but when I checked, the mind's getting out of it these days. I don't remember everything I did. Oh. Yeah, well, let's come back to it. Let's go and have a look around the back and then have a look around the front, because that's always interesting stuff, especially on an amp like this, because it's got loads and loads of different things. Yeah, it doesn't look it, but it really has. So I'm going to get down and close again and take a quick look at the controls. You'll want to see them when you own one. Well, here we go. It's all nice and simple round the back. I like that sort of thing, don't you? Let's start as we mean to proceed here. This is where the volts goes in, and you can flip it apart and make this work on a different voltage, which I think is pretty good. But the thing is, I'm not going to bother change it because here I am in England at 240 volts. It says here very clearly, AC in. You stuff camera, AC in 120, 240. Then we've got an on and off, standby and a play. We've got a fuse, yeah. We've got 50 watt or 100 watt. It's about 3 dB difference when you run it on 100 watt rather than 50 watt. So it doesn't make that much difference in volume, but you get more clarity and things like that. More tube, if you will. We've got an FX loop, which doesn't say which is in and which is out, but it probably would in a manual if I had one. There might be a manual somewhere. By the way, one of the strange things about this amp when it arrived, it actually arrived with a Marshall foot pedal. So maybe boys at the amp makers never sent the pedals with them or something. I don't know. But all I do know is it was a Marshall pedal and it was brand new, and thanks very much. It's a bit weird. We've got, it says here, boost. Yeah. Well, that's where you put the pedal, I guess. Speaker 8 or 16 ohms. Boring round the back, except you've got the fan, remember. And yeah, pretty nice work on the case. Yeah. Other than that, it's boring. So let's go around the front where it changes dramatically. Okay, well here we are around the front. You've got two inputs. It looks like when I played it, you've got a low input and a high input, which is a bit like the old, Plexis and all the rest of it. We've got a gain 1, a gain 2, a treble, a middle, a bass. We've got a master 1 and a master 2, and we've got a presence and another little switch down there that can flip you between JTM, JMP or JXN, which is Jackson sound. There it is, very important switch, and it does change the amp quite considerably. Now if we're on channel 1, we've got a channel 1 and a channel 2 here. So when I'm on channel 1, on this one, I'm going to be using gain 1, aren't I? Pretty obvious really. But on gain 1 we've got this B1 and B2. All I can think about that being is a bass tone 1 and a bass tone 2. Yeah, B1 and B2. Maybe it's that bass amp he was talking about years ago. That's all I can put that down to, or you can have it turned off. Then we've got a gain 2 and we've got a B1 and a B2, which is probably the same thing when you're on the other channel. This one here is channel 1 and channel 2. Pretty self-explanatory. Channel 2's good. Then we've got normal or boost. You see that? Now, does it work on both channels on the normal or boost? You know, I forget. I think it doesn't, but it might. And either way, it either does or it doesn't. Doesn't really matter. You've got the choice when you're there, haven't you? But on this one here, we've got a gain for low or high, and that does make a lot of difference. Make no mistake of that. As does this one at the end we were talking about, this JTM, JMP and JXN in the middle, Jackson in the middle. It really does sound like a Plexi. It really does. But you can drive it with this extra gain. Now, the problem with the likes of the JTM and the Plexi is you've got to crank them so loud to get that tone that it's not feasible today. In quote the old days of the 70s, yeah, you could get away with that. You wouldn't get away with it now, I'll tell you. I remember standing in front of a Plexi and feeling the notes hit the back of my head. It was loud. But today, you couldn't get away with it. But this amp is just as loud. You take two 4x12s and I'm telling you now, this is gonna zap your back of the neck. They say 130 watts or so, 130 something when it was flat out in the factory. So I don't disbelieve them because it can be loud. In fact, if you look at these settings here, these are the settings that I had the amp on when I was doing all the trialing and testing and the rest of it. You can see that if you look at these gains here, they're not particularly very high. These gains are, but that's just my style. I like to drive it a bit, you know. And gain 2 here with these other things turned on, that's more than enough for modern rock, really. Even the heavier stuff. So if you back some of this off a little bit, you'll get the true sort of Plexi tone. And that's what this amp's really all about. Yeah, the Plexi tone, but without all that, I can't say without all that volume, because the volume is there if you want it. You turn this thing up, oh my God, it looks like a little amp. It's a giant. It's an absolute giant. Let's go back up top. Well, I'm back. There it is in its case, and it's all nice, and the settings were where I used it, but you might change your mind and go somewhere else. That's what was in the case of the box. A Marshall pedal 91003 foot switch, and it's just your regular run-of-the-mill, cheap, relatively cheap Marshall pedal, which I guess works with this amp, because that's why they included it. But to be honest, I don't think Jackson Ampworks, including that pedal, they were probably making their own and didn't supply it. Or maybe they did supply it. It's just so little information. So little information. Yeah. So much amp, so little info. So, I've listened to this thing. Now, I've used Plexis, I've used JTMs, I've never used a Jackson in the middle. But yeah, it is a Plexi. In all intents and purposes, it looks like a cut down version, a little light amp, and it isn't a little light amp, it's a big heavy amp, and it's got all them watts if you wanted to. You could flip it down to 50, remember, and control everything with these masters, and it'll work fine. You'll still get decent sounds out of it, because I did. I think it depends on the speaker cab you use and things like that, but be careful if you put one of them old 100 watt reissue Marshall cabs on, for example. You could blow the speakers quite easy. Yeah, so don't overdo it on the volumes, on the masters, and you'll be fine. How would I rate this thing? Well, looking at the history of what all them guys were saying on the forums. Now, I'm not a fan of forums. Whoa, a lot of people know that. Forums are where people go, in many instances, and just mouth off. You know, they hide behind some stupid little name. Well, they're not grown-ups, are they? Well, the funny thing is, some of them are grown up. Yeah. Yeah, send them the other way. So I don't waste my time too much with forums. I might just occasionally have a quick glimpse over it. But I don't necessarily believe everything that I read on a forum, because most of them guys don't actually know. They're just surmising what they think. What you think and what you know are two different things. So I base this on what I see. I've still got my warranty from Peach Guitars. I paid the money, I've got the warranty. It's half the price it was. Do I care? No. So how am I going to score it? Well, I'm going to score it pretty high, actually. I'm going to give it about a 9. Because it's well made. It sounds exactly like it says on the tin. And it was half price. Well, how would I score it if it was full price? 6 to 7. How would I score it at half price? 9. Because you get a lot of amp for the money. It's well engineered. It's American made. As far as I can see, it's definitely American made. It's even CE approved on the back. And the cream on the cake, this is 0007. So it's number 7 amp, which is quite nice. So that's my score for it. The fact that it's got a Marshall pedal in, who knows the answer to that thing? And who knows the answer to whether they're making these. If Jackson Ampworks is out there, come and tell us. Come on, bring it on. Tell us that you're still making them, because from what I see of your website, you went off into pedals and I don't even know whether them sold. I don't know. I know they went meteoric and then something happened. That can happen in business, can't it? Anyway, so don't forget to go and look at www.TonyMckenzie.com. It'll be down in the words or on the video screen or whatever it is. Don't forget to look at that. Lots of reviews on there. And I've still got some more to make. I've still got lots of videos to make. But this is one along with the other amp I recently showed you. Or I'm going to show you. Who knows which way around these videos end up. Yeah, and I've got another amp that's going to be reviewed as well. I'll tell you what that one is. That's a 65 amps one that was also discontinued. I don't mind that because factually, a lot of guys can afford this stuff once they're discontinued or once they're clearance or once they're this or once they're that. If you really think they're any different than the day they were made, they're not. They're just as good a value, except half price. So they're twice as good a value. And it's the same gear. Awesome gear. It doesn't lose its money just because somebody wants to sell it cheap to get rid. Their get rid isn't necessarily your get rid. It could be your best amp. The amp you like most in the world, and then you'll stick with it forever or until it blows up one day. So that's it for now. You're going to be able to hear it coming up Don't know who's playing. It might be me, might be Levi, it might be my other friends. I've got one or two. So you get a good idea about it. And yeah, Plexirama. That's what I'd call it. I'd have called it Jackson Ampworks Plexirama. Plexirama, that's the one. Yeah. So until next time, hope you like this particular review. I like this amp. It's very well made. Well, I sell it. Until next time, watch what's coming up. Get out of here. It could be a good idea. Well, hello. Here we are in the studio with the El Guapo, and I've got the guitar. It's plugged in on the low setting, the bottom of the two. And I wanted to just give you a bit of a sort of thing about the clean tones. Somebody said to me, "Oh, we can't tell anything about what your amp's like when you don't play the clean tones." I suppose that's true. Well, here it is. Yeah, you've got a couple of masters. There's master one. I guess. I guess that's pretty clean. So I'm currently set up on the JTM. Well, I am now. Okay, enough of this clean crap. Let's move along a bit. Yeah, you've heard how clean it is, right? That's the JTM. I'm going to move across to the JMP on clean. So this is the JMP. It's got that sort of very slight grit. I can hear it. I don't know if you can. This is just on the camera mic today. I've been doing a lot of reviews, and to be honest, it's all getting me down a bit. There's too much of everything being done, so it's on that. And if you don't like it, go somewhere else. It's the best thing. Up to full. I can hear the grit creeping in there, but I'm still on the low gain. Now we got another channel, another mode, as you saw in the video, called the JXN or Jackson mode, and that takes you to the next level. Well, with a bit of luck it does. So I've got various settings down here. I've got B1, B2 and so on and so forth. I switch them back to B1, staying on channel 1. I get this. I'm still on the JMP mode because I guess that's what most people want to hear. I can hear the difference there. And hopefully you can too. It's flipped across to channel 2, but I didn't change any of the settings except I'm in JTM mode. And you know you're on the channel 2 because this turns to red. You've got two separate masters there, which is all very nice, and it does sound rather better. Well, it does to me. It may not be to the purists and things like that, but remember, in JTM mode, Quite a change, huh? Well, let's move across to the JMP. Okay, you'll find some of the top end's gone. Well, I think you will. Bit more middle, bit more drive as well, if you notice that. Okay, that was the JMP mode or Plexi mode. Remember, we're still on the low input. What an awesome amp. Let's flip it into the Jackson mode and just see how that changes things. I'll leave it low and just flip it to there. You should hear a difference, but when I turn it up, you will definitely hear a difference. Remember, still on the low mode. Very cutting, and yeah, you can see where the masters are. That's master 1 at the top. Well, master 1 at the bottom is on about 9:30 AM. You can imagine how loud this amp could be, but you still get a great sound even at 9:30 AM on the master. I mean, it sounds absolutely awesome in the room. What it's like there's another story, but don't worry about that. Nobody's telling. So what I'm going to do now is flip it back to the JTM and put it in this high input. Hold on to your horses, boys. Here it goes. Well, here I am in the JTM mode. I've done nothing except move this up into the higher gain. Again, you're going to hear those sort of tones reminiscent of a JTM, but with far more drive. Like the JTM's really cranked. And I've got one down in there. Pushes out about 30 watts and sounds quite nice, but I think this one simulates the 100 watt jobby, so it's loud. Like I said, rather loud. Well, I'm going to flip across into the JMP mode and you'll hear the variation. I'm pretty sure you'll hear it. Needless to say, how are your ears? Oh my god, this is pumping it out. And we've only got left the JXN mode or the Jackson mode, which I've just flipped it to. I don't really want to go any louder, guys. It's really pretty awesome. So let's do that now, and yeah, you'll be able to get an idea of the tone. I'm not going to play any backing tracks or anything on this. I just want you to get the ideas of the tone of this absolutely awesome amp. And it really is. It's an amazing amp. I hope you get the idea. Last one I saw was in Peach Guitars in the UK, £1,395 instead of £2,600. Man, it's one awesome amp. You've seen inside it, you've heard it. Oh my god, if you're into the sort of plexi tones and overdriven plexi tones, this is the amp right here. We can back that plexi off a bit. Now then, you want a decent amp? This one here is awesome. Well, of course that one there's awesome too, and you may never have heard of that one, but don't worry, it will be around anytime soon. In fact, it could be the next video. Indeed it could. Well, we're on this one anyway right now, and yeah, what more can I say? One awesome amp. Buy one. You know its score. Till next time, I'll get out of here.
Thank you.